I gotta put some more respect on, even more respect on Deion's foresight, because Coach Prime was saying this a year ago. He was saying, I'm not letting my son just go to any team.
I know where I kind of want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, you on point.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an Eli. It's not like who I would like for him to play for. It's a couple teams that I won't allow him to play for.
Whoa.
This is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it, man.
It makes more sense in hindsight that he knows the games that people will try to play with you.
Kevin Stefanski full of shit.
Oh wow.
He full of shit. You talk about instilling confidence into your players. How do you think that makes Shedeur feel? I don't know who the backup is? Yeah. You got to be kidding me.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
So here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And I want to go ahead and chime in on what everybody is talking about, because everybody is seeing the same thing right now. Everybody is seeing it exactly how a lot of us saw it to begin with. They're trying to break Shedeur Sanders.
They are trying to break Shedeur Sanders like a wild horse.
He's definitely a great teammate, and I'm just thankful to be able to spend some time with him.
Has that changed anything about your preparation? Your standing with this team?
No. What do you mean by standing with the team?
That's what I'm asking. Do you think it's changed anything? I mean, you're clearly on the roster here every day.
Yeah, so that's what I can be thankful for. You know, I'm thankful that I got opportunity to come out and be able to practice each and every day with my teammates and everything.
They are trying to get him to conform to what typical NFL quarterbacks that are drafted in a 5th round position are going to do.
I can tell you what they're hoping. Like when you go to the Army, like when you go to the Marines, like when you go to the Navy, they're trying to break you in the beginning to see if you are the one. Are you built for this? Mentally. That's all. They waiting on the snap, huh? They waiting on the snap. I'm telling you. He has to understand it. I can see the play. I can see the play all the way. I can see the play way before it happened. All the way before it started. How can you not see it if you understand the game and the game that they're playing? I can see it as clear as day. Your owner coming out and saying some of the things he said.
True.
He got training camp. Oh, I see what this is. Okay, now I got to play the game. I see what y'all trying to do.
Right.
You got to play the game. Now you in their structured environment. You got to play by their rules.
Yeah.
You know when somebody's setting you up to fail? That's what's going on. It's like when you want your girl to break up with you, you treat them so bad that eventually they'll break and they'll be like, I can't do this anymore. That's what the Browns are doing with Shedeur. Like they're treating him so bad that hopefully he'll just break. And he'll just be like, you know what? I want out. I'm done. He's gaslighting Shedeur. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you making
100%
Shedeur feel crazy.
Yeah.
You making us think we crazy.
He ain't been able to give him a single microcosm of a positive statement in terms of where his spot is on the depth chart this entire season.
Bro,
it's bad.
don't tell, you're trying to tell all of us that we didn't see what we saw at Colorado. You're trying to tell all of us that we didn't see what we saw in Shedeur's first preseason game, albeit his second preseason game was not great. You're trying to tell all of us that the rules of the NFL are now being rewritten for Bailey Zappi.
So Kevin Stefanski will be asked today, is Shedeur the number 2? Or is he going to be the 3rd again? And Kevin has to explain what his reasoning is, because there is a scenario where Bailey Zappi could be elevated from the practice squad.
Yeah, that just sounds so ridiculous. And I get your point. And I was at that game. We did that game between Baltimore and Cleveland when Bailey Zappi started. Okay, I was there. But look, they're in developmental mode now. They're in future mode. They're in future projection mode. You don't need to see what Bailey Zappi can do. Right. Okay, you need to go ahead and elevate Shedeur to number 2, get him number 2 reps, however many that is, and you're one play away. And then you figure out what you have at quarterback, then you see what happens in 26. Let's stop messing. Look, we talked about this last time I was on the show. Why are we even messing around with Joe Flacco being the number 2 quarterback? He needed to be shipped out of there right away and move forward.
I would argue that Bailey Zappi throwing in there on an injury in the middle of the game might be better for Shedeur than the other way. I think at some point this season we're going to get to a point where Shedeur is going to be the starter going into a game. And I would rather, if I'm Shedeur, I get it. I want to get on the field by any means necessary. But if I'm Shedeur, give me my week of preparation, design a game plan around what I do well, and put me out there on the first snap. Don't throw me out there after like getting 2 snaps of practice all week and then determine how good I am off of that.
Because here's the thing. Think about what.
And if anybody's qualified to speak on roster construction up there, it's Louis Riddick. And his look says it all. He's surrounded by idiots. Anybody who thinks that Shedeur Sanders should be the second quarterback right now, as this roster is constructed, is a moron.
If you are a 5th round pick, you take priority over a player that got cut last year. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
3rd round pick takes priority over 5th round pick. 5th round pick takes priority over player that got cut. Drafted player takes priority over practice squad player. I know, because I lived my life on practice squad.
You really gonna bring up Bailey Zappi from the practice squad and make him the backup over me and I've been on the active roster? Either Kevin Stefanski thinks Shedeur Sanders is Magic City parking lot, straight ass. Or he just don't like him.
Yeah.
Like, this is the perfect example of take all your confidence away from a player.
So I ask the question now, if he doesn't get promoted from QB3 to QB2, what happens?
What I think happens is that you put even more pressure on Dillon Gabriel in his second start than he had in his NFL debut.
If he's not promoted.
If Shedeur Sanders is not promoted to QB2.
Why is that?
Because then all of a sudden you start to ask all of these questions as to why. There are only 2 quarterbacks on the active roster right now. So if you don't promote him to QB2, that being Shedeur Sanders, and you decide to elevate Bailey Zappi off the practice squad, who you didn't think enough of to have on your active roster weeks ago, it makes it seem as if you have an agenda other than allowing the quarterback competition to be a meritocracy. And that's the part that seems a little bit awkward. And that's why I said yesterday, Kevin Stefanski has got to be really careful in terms of how he handles this situation between Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and what ends up happening in terms of the runway that Dillon Gabriel gets to show the franchise what he is versus the opportunities that present themselves for Shedeur, including being elevated from the 3rd string quarterback to the backup.
And I guess my confusion comes in when I try to think of what that agenda might be.
So at this point, if there's anybody acting confused about what's going on, I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're male, female, black, white, whatever. If you're acting confused at this point as to what's going on with Shedeur Sanders, then I'm going to think you're in on it. I'm going to think you probably had something to do with it. You might know some things. We might need to talk to you about what's going on. Because even Skip Bayless, Mr. Put Your Glasses Back On, Skip Bayless.
You?
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal...
Put your glasses back on.
Knew what time it was.
And the word of mouth, it's not like there's a memo sent out, but the word of mouth all around this league was, let's teach him, and especially his daddy, a lesson. Let's just put them in their place. It was just sickening and shameful to watch. Let's teach them who we are and who they're not. And all those coaches who didn't want to take him were scared to death that if you did take him, that pretty soon the owner is going to be thinking, well, I could get Deion Sanders to coach. I'm going there because it's going to create box office and maybe he's a better coach than you are, coach. He is. Scared to death of him.
And much like Louis Riddick suggested, nobody's buying that Shedeur Sanders is better off as the 3rd string quarterback on the Cleveland Browns. Because there's absolutely nothing that Dillon Gabriel proved or that he was asked to do against the Minnesota Vikings in his opening debut that Shedeur Sanders couldn't do. Dillon Gabriel only completed 3 passes over 10 yards in that game. Everything else was dink and dunk. That was the game plan. Get it out of your hands quick. Let our defense win the game.
Shedeur Sanders can absolutely go out there and execute the game plan that we saw from Dillon Gabriel against Minnesota Vikings in the international series in London. He can absolutely do that. Dillon Gabriel completed 19 passes. 14 of those completions went to backs and tight ends. Only 3 completions were more than 9 air yards. Shedeur Sanders can go out there and do that. He absolutely can. So when it comes to the readiness of it all, you got to miss me with that. Like, the Minnesota Vikings recognized how basic the Cleveland Browns offense was, and they decided to play a way that we never see them play, which is not blitzing at a high rate.
And that's one of the reasons why we haven't seen Shedeur Sanders practice with the first team. Everybody was wondering why in OTAs and training camp, why Shedeur Sanders wasn't getting an opportunity with the first team, like Joe Flacco was, like Dillon Gabriel was, like Kenny Pickett was. Everybody else but Shedeur Sanders was getting their turn with the first team. Because Kevin Stefanski knows, or at least he believes, in my estimation, that there's a strong probability if Shedeur Sanders ever gets a shot working with the ones, it's a wrap. It's going to be too obvious. I won't be able to keep him off the field. That's a wrap, because not only is he going to do well just because we know what he's capable of, the players are going to rally around him. The players are going to want to play for him. And that's the reason why, in my estimation, I believe, in that first preseason game, I thought it was odd, to say the least, that every quarterback on the roster was injured. Every quarterback on the roster was dealing with something. And Shedeur Sanders didn't get any reps with the second team, the third team, but yet he was asked to go out there and start in the very first preseason game with the lights bright, and he did his job, he performed. And I think that was unexpected. I didn't think they expected him to go out and perform the way that he did. And when he did that, all of a sudden he's got shoulder soreness, and he couldn't play the next game. And Dillon Gabriel was pretty much able to go out there, dink and dunk again, make himself look good, and credit to him, he did what he was asked to do, dink and dunk the ball, not turn the ball over. Oh, wait, yeah, he did turn the ball over. He did have a pick six, but it got overlooked. It was dismissed because all the dinking and dunking he did, it made it look like he was going out there and he was being accurate, and he was, but like I said, he was dinking and dunking. And then in that final preseason game, what did they do? They went out there and they put Shedeur Sanders on the field with guys that are not even on practice squads. Guys that are struggling to make practice squads now, and said, see, we told you so. And they know Shedeur Sanders wanted to go out there and he wanted to perform. He wanted to try to make a play to win the game for the team. So they knew what he was going to do. He was going to hold on to the ball a little bit long because it's a competition. He wants to win the competition. He doesn't want to dink and dunk the ball. He wants to try to make a play. But he didn't have an opportunity